Jack, you have got to help me. They are going to kill me if you don't. Prince Telian's voice crackled through the comms, panic barely hidden beneath his royal tone. Jack Thorne, mercenary by trade and tough as nails by reputation, sat back in his cockpit, flicking switches and adjusting the course. He was used to these kinds of calls, damsels, princes, and even whole planets begging for his help. But this one was different. Space pirates, huh? Jack muttered, half amused. So, why do you think you can afford me? Because I can give you something more valuable than credits. Telian's voice was almost desperate. I'll make sure you're rich beyond your wildest dreams. Just get me out of this mess, Captain. Jack's lips curled into a grin. He wasn't one to back down from a challenge, especially not when a payoff was promised. All right, I'll bite. But remember this. You owe me. The transmission cut out, and Jack's ship, the Stellar Hunter, rocked as it slipped into the chaos of deep space. His mission, to rescue Prince Telion from the clutches of merciless space pirates. Little did Jack know, this mission would not only change his life, but also introduce him to someone he'd never forget, Princess Yaira. The Stellar Hunter cut through the stars like a blade, its engines humming with quiet power. Jack Thorne, eyes narrowed and mind focused, navigated through the asteroid field where the pirates were rumored to be hiding. As he approached the pirate ship's location, the dark expanse of space grew thick with danger. He could feel the weight of the job settling on his shoulders, but he didn't flinch. Through the viewport, the wreckage of what had once been a small cargo ship was drifting in pieces. Jack's comms crackled to life once again. Captain Thorne, it's Telion. I'm in the pirate ship's brig. Please hurry. Jack's lips twitched. He knew exactly what he was getting into. Space pirates weren't known for making things easy, especially not when royalty was involved. Firing off a few well-placed shots, Jack disabled the pirate ship's shields and then initiated a dock with the enemy vessel. As the airlock hissed open, he grabbed his pulse rifle and strode into the darkness of the ship's interior, navigating the dim corridors until he found the prince, shackled and bruised. Well, well, Jack muttered, helping the prince to his feet. I've seen worse. He glanced at Telian's state of disarray, his royal attire torn, his face marked with battle scars. Thank you, Captain, Telion gasped. You've no idea how close I was to. Spare me the speech, Jack interrupted, checking the corridor. Let's get out of here first. We can talk later. With a few well-placed shots and swift moves, Jack neutralized the pirate guards, securing their escape route. Just as they were about to board the Stellar Hunter again, Telion stopped him. Wait, the prince said, hesitating. I want to offer you a reward. A royal one? Jack raised an eyebrow. Reward? He echoed, taking the prince's offer with a healthy dose of skepticism. Before Jack could ask what the reward was, the air around them seemed to shift. A woman stepped from the shadows, tall and regal in appearance. Her presence was commanding, her gaze sharp as a blade. This is Princess Yaira, Telion said, almost nervously. She is my sister. I am offering her to you, as a gift. She will be your companion, your partner, for all your future missions. Jack stared at her, his mind racing. Princess Yaira? His partner? This was not what he had expected. Yaira stood still, her arms folded, eyes locked on Jack as if sizing him up. Her features were striking, an angular face, piercing blue eyes, and a frame that was both elegant and strong. Yet something about her seemed off. Not in a physical sense. She was undoubtedly beautiful, but there was something different about her. Jack let out a low whistle. Is this some kind of joke, Your Highness? You're offering me your sister like she's a... What? A soldier on a bounty contract. I'm no gift, Yaira interrupted, her voice firm and cold. I'm not here to be a token of gratitude. I can hold my own. If your mercenary skills are as impressive as the rumors say, you'll need someone like me by your side. Jack's eyes narrowed. She was speaking with a confidence that didn't sit right with him. A royal like her, a princess, shouldn't talk like this. Yet, there was something oddly intriguing about her attitude. I didn't ask for this, Jack muttered, turning to Telion. I didn't sign up for a sidekick. But, she's your sister, not mine. Yaira ignored the remark, stepping forward. I'm no sidekick, Captain, I am a warrior. I have fought in wars across planets, led campaigns, and destroyed fleets. I may not be the kind of princess you were expecting, but I am as skilled as they come." Jack's skepticism deepened. She didn't look like the type who'd led battles. She looked like a princess from a far-off royal lineage. But something in the way she carried herself suggested she wasn't just a pretty face. Days later, Jack would learn just how much of a force Yaira truly was. The duo found themselves caught in a deadly ambush in a remote sector of space. Pirates, exiled warlords, and bounty hunters all after their heads. Yet, in the heat of battle, Jack quickly realized that Yaira was no helpless noblewoman. She fought with the precision and deadly grace of a seasoned warrior. One enemy after another fell under her assault. Her movements were swift and calculating, each strike an expert blend of strategy and force. It wasn't long before Jack found himself relying on her instincts just as much as his own. "Not bad for a princess," Jack called out, taking cover as enemy blasters whizzed past. Yaira didn't flinch. "I'm not your princess," she replied coolly, her gaze fixed on their attackers. "Just focus on surviving." And survive they did. The days that followed the ambush were a blur of firefights, narrow escapes, and tense moments where Jack found himself increasingly impressed by Yaira's abilities. She was no ordinary princess, that much was clear. Her knowledge of combat tactics, her quick thinking, and her precision with a blaster all made her a formidable partner. Jack had expected a pampered royal, not someone who could hold her own in a battle like this. Their next mission was one of the most dangerous they'd taken on so far. Raid on an isolated research station on a frozen moon in a distant system. The station was rumored to be experimenting with bioengineered predators, creatures capable of surviving in the harshest environments and becoming more dangerous with every passing day. The human mercenary world had heard whispers of these creatures, but no one knew for sure how deadly they truly were. Until now, Jack sat in the cockpit of the Stellar Hunter as the frozen moon came into view, its surface covered in glaciers and icy cliffs. He ran a hand over his stubbled chin, glancing over at Yaira who sat beside him, staring at the cold landscape. "You ready for this?" Jack asked, half smirking. Yaira didn't answer right away. Instead, her eyes were fixed on the moon below them, her mind no doubt working through the details of their mission. "You know, the last time I was on a planet like this, we were hunting down rebels. Never thought I'd be tracking bioengineered monsters," she replied, her voice steady but tinged with something deeper, maybe a hint of nostalgia for her warrior past. Jack chuckled. "Well, at least we're on the same side now." She raised an eyebrow, the corner of her lips twitching into a faint smile. For now, landing the Stellar Hunter on the moon's frozen surface, the two of them stepped out, their boots crunching on the ice. The air was thin and bitterly cold, but their mission was clear. The research station was a few kilometers away, buried beneath a vast glacier. As they made their way toward it, the silence of the icy world was unsettling, broken only by the distant howl of wind and the sound of their breathing. "I don't like this," Jack muttered, scanning their surroundings. The moon felt alive with danger, and he had a nagging feeling they were being watched. "Something's off." Yaira nodded, her expression tight. "Stay alert. We're not alone here." As they neared the research station, an alarm blared suddenly, followed by the distinct sound of metal doors sealing shut. The station's defense systems had activated, and it was clear that someone, or something, was prepared for intruders. "Brace yourself," Jack said, drawing his blaster. They fought their way into the station, taking down armed guards along the way. But the deeper they went, the more the air seemed to grow heavier, as if the station itself was holding its breath. Then, they heard it, a low growl, echoing through the metal corridors. It sent a shiver down Jack's spine. He knew they weren't alone anymore. "Ready for this?" Yaira asked, her voice steady but serious as they reached a narrow hallway that led deeper into the station. "Always," Jack grunted. And that's when they saw them. The bioengineered predators. Sleek, black-furred creatures, their eyes glowing with a predatory hunger. The creatures had been modified for speed and strength, their jaws full of sharp teeth. They moved in a blur, a sudden flash of motion before they pounced. Jack fired first, taking down one of the beasts with a well-aimed shot. But there were more. A lot more. Yaira didn't hesitate. She lunged forward with the agility of someone who had been born into battle. Her blaster was a blur in her hands, picking off predators one by one as she darted across the hallway. Jack was right behind her, fighting side by side, both of them moving like a well-oiled machine. "Behind you!" Yaira shouted as one of the creatures lunged toward Jack. He spun around just in time to fire his blaster point-blank, sending the beast crashing to the floor. "This is getting out of hand," Jack grunted as they pushed forward. But it wasn't over. More of the creatures came, and it became a brutal game of survival. Each step they took was a fight for their lives, a test of endurance, strength, and trust. In the heat of the battle, Jack realized just how much he had come to rely on Yaira. Her tactical mind, her ability to predict their enemies' moves, and her calm under pressure were invaluable. He'd never imagined that he'd find a partner like this, especially not from someone of her royal status. When the last of the predators fell, breathing heavy and covered in blood, Jack looked over at Yaira. Her expression was unreadable, her hair wild from the fight, but there was something else in her eyes. It wasn't just the thrill of battle. It was something deeper, a connection they hadn't spoken about yet, but both felt growing between them. "You okay?" Jack asked, panting. Yaira wiped the sweat from her brow, her gaze flicking to him briefly before she nodded. "Yeah, just another day at the office." Jack chuckled, but the air between them had shifted. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about something more, something that neither of them was quite ready to admit, but both knew was there. Their mission wasn't over. They still had to disable the station's core and shut down the experiments. But as they made their way to the control room, something inside Jack told him that this partnership was far from over. If anything, it had only just begun. As the weeks passed, their missions became more frequent, more dangerous. They had no time to stop and reflect on what was brewing between them. The danger always seemed to be just one step behind them, but Jack found himself growing more and more reliant on Yaira, and the same was true for her. What had started as a job, a mission, a payment for service, was turning into something else, something deeper. They faced ambushes, bounty hunters, pirate attacks, and more. Every mission brought them closer, their mutual respect and trust growing with each successful escape. But it was the silent moments, the shared glances, the unspoken understanding between them, that made Jack realize something had shifted. He wasn't just working alongside her anymore. He was depending on her, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to stop. The day they defeated an entire fleet of hostile ships together, side by side, was the day Jack understood that Yaira had become more than just a partner. She had become a part of his life. And what had started as an unspoken bond of survival was turning into something neither of them had expected. They were no longer just mercenary and princess. They were equals, partners. And maybe, just maybe, there was something more between them than either was willing to admit. And so, the unpredictable journey of Jack Thorne and Yaira continued. Their future was uncertain, filled with more battles, more close calls, and perhaps even more discoveries about each other. What had begun as an unexpected partnership had blossomed into an adventure neither of them could have foreseen, and one that was far from over.